The following program may contain strong language and mature content. Viewer discretion is advised.
Well, praise the Lord, all ye his people. I done forgot the damn scripture, Lord. Anyway, how y'all doing tonight? Hey, Saint.
We looking real Christmassy right now. We got the white,
The-
the green.
yes, because every day is Christmas when
But
you
then,
know who Jesus is.
but this is also Black History Month. We are so
Oh,
appropriate. We black.
huh,
We got the green. We got the red. Look,
that part.
hint of white here. Mm-hmm.
And we did it on purpose. We
We.
did.
Oh, okay. So we did it on purpose. We did it on
And
purpose.
did. And did. Okay, no. We telling the truth. No, no. Anyway, how y'all doing tonight? Welcome to the Walt B Connection. This is a place where we can connect with each other despite our differences, um, different faiths, different ideology, different walks of life. We can connect with each other and have conversations to help push the culture forward. One issue at a time. But no, it hurts when I see my community, the Black community, the Pan-African community, divided over dumb stuff. Like it really hurts. It hurts. And this, I know this isn't a hot topic show, but it hurt my heart when I saw Tiffany Montgomery, who is a rich, wealthy Black woman, come for Beyonce in such a derogatory way, and then use Jesus to do it.
Oh, yeah. That's doing.
I just my whole heart was hurt because I thought Tiffany was above that, but I also didn't think Beyonce deserved that because everybody talking about she's a witch. She has yet in public to cast a spell. Beyonce has yet in public to denounce Christ. It just hasn't happened. Just say you don't like her music.
But I mean, on the flip side of life, what is she is?
Okay. I mean, that wouldn't bother me. But I know that would stop her sales. You know, that's coming for her bag, and I don't see why people do that.
I know for me, I see, and I really need to start deleting people because I'm tired of seeing it. But I see a lot of people that are saying, "I can't believe that you a believer listening to her music."
Can I tell you how I lost 500 followers one time? So I got sick of people on a certain topic, and I just went on my thing, and I got rid of like 500 people through the course of a week on my Facebook. I have since gained other followers, and some of them have come back, and we've had the conversation. Now, look, if you're on, if we're going to be connected, you got to leave that dumb shit somewhere else.
Because it's exhausting. It's really
It
exhausting.
is.
And the
It
reality is,
is.
why don't you have your personal beliefs and you leave my personal beliefs alone?
Just
And if
yes.
if they do not coincide with one another, guess what we don't have to do? Talk about it.
See, thank you, Kwame. Thank you, Kwame, for that. Thank you. She's a devout Christian, and she has said it on multiple. What does she have to do? Bleed the blood of Christ for us to come up off the bullshit?
No, she has to go to church every Sunday. She needs to wear church hats,
and
and she
only
needs to
sing
make sure
gospel.
she only wears modest outfits.
Yeah. Woo! But I think this is kind of in line with what we're discussing tonight. Honk for Jesus. And y'all already know, if you follow me, don't do me. You already know, if I'm saying honk for Jesus, I gotta say honk for Jesus. Because in this movie, Sterling, the lead man in this movie, he was sexy. Okay. And I was so happy that they got him to play this part, especially once he stripped down to his drawers in front of the
my God.
church. You know, I'm not gonna lie, I rewound that part a few times. And as a matter of fact, sitting here thinking of that, I'm gonna watch it again before I go to bed tonight.
You didn't screenshot it for us? See if you watch it on your phone.
I did.
Screenshot it and get that image and just keep
I
it as
did.
a paper.
And Sterling, if you ever watch this, I just want you to know that you really blessed the people while you played this. You really let God use you
from head to toe.
From head to toe, because he got cakes too. But that's not what we on here to talk about. That's not what we. She can come for me, and the hoe can cast a spell on me. I don't care. I call it for what it is. I can't. That really hurt my heart the way she came at Beyonce like that. I don't feel like Beyonce deserved it. She may not be a saint. I'm sure we've all done wrong things, but why come at her like that? Woo! Okay. Honk for Jesus. Manal, first off, how did you enjoy the movie?
Oh my God. I'm gonna tell you, I had to watch it a couple times.
Okay.
Because the first time I watched it, I was so triggered that I was sitting there pissed off watching that movie. Mm-hmm. And pissed off because of the truth of the movie, right? Like, I could think about so many situations that I experienced growing up in church where I was like, yep, that's how it was. Yep, that's what it was. Yep, I remember when I realized that was the truth, so it was very triggering because it was so on point and so honest. And it just really paralleled with a lot of my experiences. And then I watched it again and then I laughed. It went that way.
Okay. So with me, I laughed the first time because is it Regina Hall?
Yes.
Easily one of my top 10 comedic actresses. Easily. Sometimes I'm like, how can she keep a straight face?
Yeah.
While all of this is going on? Like when they were sitting at the table and he was doing the whole Rocky thing and she was like, Rocky didn't win. Right? I was like, how does she keep a straight face and say it with that kind of attitude during that whole thing? And then like when they had her out there miming, when she was doing the mime, I was like, you know what? She deserves some type of award just for not busting out laughing during all of this.
She's great.
Definitely.
But what I also love is that it was directed by Key.
Okay. Keenan from Key and Peele.
Yeah.
All right.
I had no idea. No idea.
I didn't realize that until you told me when we were discussing tonight's show. So this movie hit, and for those of you that don't know, this movie it documents. It's a mockumentary of a pastor of a mega church who gets caught up in a sex scandal. Now, the peculiar thing about this sex scandal is that it involves not underage men, but younger men. At least, I remember? And sorry, they were minors.
Not minors, but young boys, 18 to 22, young boys.
Okay, absolutely. So this is a more mature pastor who was enjoying the company of the younger men in the ministry, young boys violating them. And a lot of this was because he could not come to terms to accept his own sexuality. Now, I don't want to turn the conversation there because we have a conversation laid out, but I do want to say, if you're watching this and you're struggling with your sexuality, reach out to me. I only joke certain ways. I will talk with you. I will walk you through this, but I want you to know you can't pray it away. You can't fast it away. I don't care how much oil they rub you down with, baby. Just talk to me and we gonna get you to a place where you can accept that God loves you and you got it. All right. So Manal, after we watched they chronicleize this movie of a pastor that gets caught in sex scandal. His wife decides to stay with him. She's encouraged by her mom to stay and the Christian community to stay with him. And then there's also that underlying she likes the clout that she gets from being with him. There's also that dichotomy there too. Ultimately, from the looks of it, they lose everything.
Mm-hmm.
Because of this secret and his unwillingness to stand in the sun, so to speak, and just be exposed and live in his truth. Right? So I'm going to just say that.
I argue with that. I think that they lost everything because church people are cool with you having your secrets as long as they don't know. Right? So I feel like because it came out, not even that it was actually happening, but because it came out, I think that's why they lost everything.
You think that's why they lost everything? Mm-hmm. I think they lost everything because he would not. Because I feel like if he accepted the truth and he did his wife right, like he didn't dog her out, and this is all hypothetical because I didn't write the movie, but I feel like if he was like, you know what, babe, I love you, whoop, 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 whoop. I'm gonna set you up, take care of you, but I'm gonna go ahead and move on to my first gentleman. I think they wouldn't have lost everything. I think they would have been able to salvage some type of something there. Because I think
the couple or the church?
The church.
Nah, I disagree.
You disagree? Not as a couple, no. The couple to me, she should have left once she realized once he made her roll over, and that was the only way they could smash. Because obviously, I don't have what you desire. Absolutely. I'm just gonna leave that there. Okay. Absolutely. And I have nothing against dogging. Straight men can do dogging, but if that's the only way,
there's no intimacy, no connection. I can't look
no eye to eye.
Yeah, I have no interest in your boobs whatsoever.
Yeah.
And licking your pussy make me vomit. Yeah, we got issues.
Yeah.
And they deep.
They are deep. So the first thing we wanted to discuss tonight, can I get the first point, Kwame? The first thing that we wanted to discuss was the role of the First Lady. She was a very intricate part of the movie. And I'm gonna let you take that, Manal. What is the actual role of the First Lady?
So here's the thing. And what I love about this, Walter, is that you and I not only grew up in the church, but we were also active in the church.
Yeah.
So we got behind the scenes, right? Mm-hmm. So when I think of the role of the First Lady, and I love how they captured it in this movie, I think of the person who is she is the PR person for the pastor.
In many ways, yeah.
The role of the First Lady is the PR for the pastor, and they are the number one mascot for the church. And I'm using these words very intentionally.
Good.
Church is a show. It is a production. And I love that the movie captures that idea that it is a production. These things are planned out. They are practiced. The First Lady has an outlined role. Whether it don't matter what church you go to, it don't matter what state you go to. That role of the First Lady is clearly defined. She always has to be the best dressed. She always has to be the best. She has to always be put together in her attitude, in her wardrobe, in the way that she presents herself. She is the person who has to be the most giving. She is the one who has to also cover up all of the bullshit for her husband. She's the PR person and the mascot.
Okay. When you said mascot, I was thinking a lot of times she has to be the face. There's a lot of pressure to keep that facade. The pressure to pursue the look versus living in reality. The look is making sure my hair is always done, and as Thais says, that my face is beat for 59 funerals. I gotta make sure I'm dressed to the nines. I don't know how I'm learning some more of my culture's lingo. I'm learning it. dressed to the nines or
Dress to
whatever.
the nines. Mm-hmm.
That's how we say it. Okay, all right. I'm getting it. I'm getting there. But we have that pressure to maintain that facade. And a lot of times we talk about the pressure on the pastor, and there is a lot of pressure as a former pastor. I want to say there is a lot of pressure on the pastor, but a lot of times the pressure that rests on the first lady goes unnoticed, right? Because just like you did say, in many ways, she is the PR person for the pastor, right? And for the church in general, you know. And then I want to take it a step further. In many cases, she's the punching bag for the church.
Absolutely.
They won't directly blame the pastor. They'll blame her. Oh, well, he wouldn't have messed with that boy if she was taking care of business at home, when that's not the case. He don't like her like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. There's no love there. So what's she gonna do? Right? And then that mask that comes with that role of first lady, you know, in the movie, of course, you know, he's messing with young boys. So she has to come home to this man that don't even want to be with her. And she has to pretend in that space, right? Because she has to keep going. And then she has to go into the church and she has to act like they're in love. She has to act like they're a team. She has to act like he is someone who is worth following.
I also like what they captured as well. She really didn't have a space where she could be 100%, you know, keep it real. Her mom, who should have known and identified with her mom kind of was like, no, baby, you stay. Look at this life he's built. What would you, blah, 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 blah.
Even rebuked her.
Right.
As to rebuke her.
Right. She got that Tiffany, was it Tiffany Montgomery spirit on her. And I my heart, I didn't think about this until we started talking about it just now. My heart really goes out to the first ladies that have to endure, I'm going to say, that abuse. You know, that's the type of abuse that they have to deal with. She couldn't be real with the other first ladies because they low-key wanted her spot. And so, whereas she's trying to salvage what's left of her self-dignity and what she's deemed all she had in life, you know, all she had to do was open her eyes. Because in my opinion, if she had left him, she would have had a bad ministry if she left him. Because she could have really, really catered and ministered to women that were coming from broken homes, you know, and helping them to see, like, okay, there is life after this. You don't have to hold on to this unhealthiness. Like, rid yourself of this.
Or not have a ministry. What?
That part too.
Live. Like, go live.
Too. But you know as well as I do, it was hard for me to just walk away from church. I kept trying to find myself. I think you were there. I kept trying to replace the church with something else. Okay, I'm not doing church, but I'm going to do this. I'm not doing church, but I'm going to do this. It took a while before I was able just to say, okay, I'm just going to serve humanity how I serve humanity, and realize we were just having this conversation. Every meeting that I host doesn't have to replicate a church service. We don't have to have praise and worship. We don't have to open in prayer. We don't.
I need somebody to read something. Right. You know.
Right. But yeah, absolutely. I feel like she could have really, really done some amazing things had she been able just to break out from that bondage and just really walk in the totality of who she was.
The brain of the operation, because
she really was.
Right? She was the brain, and so many times, many times, that's the reality. The woman is really the one who is the most powerful one, right? And so many times over, the women are not living in they're not living to the fullness of who they are, because they have been trained and conditioned, especially if you grow up in the church, you've been trained and conditioned to uplift the man.
Right.
And all his bullshit, right? And so that means that pieces of you don't even get a chance to exist as a woman, let alone as a first lady.
if I could just throw this in there too, a lot of that plays into respectability politics. Do you remember when we had that discussion about respectability politics?
Absolutely.
How you have to, your life has to look like this in order for us to deem you to
Mm-hmm.
be. So you got a whole church full of women willing to settle for, I could say this, niggas who ain't shit.
Yes.
And I'm not saying all men ain't. That's not what I'm saying. But a lot of times our women fall victim to that because we pressure them to feel like if they don't have a man, then their wisdom is no good. You start saying, well, when she have a man, she ain't even got a man. You don't have to have a man to be wise in life, about life and the things of life. And, I could know about relationships and what'll end a relationship and not be in one.
Yeah.
I can be single and tell you it's trash ass behavior to cheat, right? Like I don't have to be married to tell you if you shouldn't be comfortable in an abusive situation. But a lot of times we will snatch that badge from her wisdom. We will snatch, life
Value.
experience from her. Value, there we go. If she ain't got a man. And all of that plays into that respectability politics that, your life has to look like this. It has to be as close to heteronormative as possible. Then you get that respect. Then they look up. They respect the anointing on your life. Then.
Mm-hmm.
Whew.
Walter, just if you have not watched the movie, please go watch the movie.
Absolutely. It'll bless your shata and your chakra. All right. Can we go point two? Point two. We really wanted to highlight this. Delusional members and delusional pastors. I'm gonna let you take this one, Manal.
One of the beautiful things about this movie is again how they showed the pastor, right? And how he did this thing that's completely wrong. Completely wrong. Hurt a lot of people. Not just himself, not just his wife, but the boys who he was involved with, their families, all of the people that was following. And I use this intentionally. All of the people that were following his example, right? He hurt a lot of people, and he never once acknowledged his wrong. And he never once acted as though he was really aware of the effects of all of his choices. He thought that he had enough power and he had enough, again, PR from his wife and enough support from his lawyers where it wouldn't even affect him. It wouldn't touch him, right? He thought I could apologize, say 10 Hail Marys, donate a little bit more to the community and wear a nicer and we were going to fix everything. We good. And so just that that delusional attitude and demeanor is so dangerous. It's so dangerous, but there's so many people out there that are calling themselves men and women of God who are existing in that delusional space. I can move the people however I want to, as long as I say in Jesus' name. And then you have members, you have members that are following after that, right? Not to advertise for SNL, but they did a skit on there where it was this scene in church where the pastors were trying to raise more money, and the truth kept falling out. But they were like, "We're gonna raise money for the roof, we're gonna raise money for the choir robes, and then we're gonna raise money to get that pizza oven put in the back of the church." Well, what's the pizza oven? Well, wait. We're gonna raise money for this. We're gonna raise money for that. We're gonna raise money to touch up mama's roots. Well, wait. Why we and so like just these things that members just don't ask questions. They blindly follow. And even after truth has been put in front of them, it was like those 5 members that were still left over at the church, right? Even after the truth has been presented in front of them, they still don't accept it. They're so
Absolutely.
into the idea of the man of God and into the church itself.
Hmm. I think that delusional members say things like, touch not mine anointed
Ah,
and do my prophet no harm. I'm not saying that's not in the scripture, but sometimes we use that to cover up a lot of foolishness that happens in the pulpit. And unfortunately, it harms a lot more than it helps.
absolutely. And how are we going to discuss accountability in our community in general,
Hmm.
right? So this is the danger of it. This is me being community based mindset.
Hmm.
How is it that the church is supposed to be the cornerstone
Hmm.
and they are supposed to be led by pastors, and there's no accountability for who they are inside and outside of the building?
Hmm.
And then I'm supposed to allow my son and my daughter to be a part of the ministry, right? Growing up and being watched over in all of this. And then they're supposed to act right at home. They're supposed to act right at school. I'm sending my husband to your men's groups. As a woman, I'm coming to these women groups, and I'm supposed to be so plugged in. Um, but there isn't any accountability for the person who is
Hmm.
supposed to be leading. So how does all of that now then trickle down?
Hmm.
So the delusion comes in where, you know, the ministers and the leaders, they feel like they are untouchable, and then the members don't even ask the right questions because they feel like they would be they would be committing some sort of sin, right?
Right,
And
right,
like
right.
I said, touch not my anointed. Well, maybe if we touch these people a little bit more often, they act right.
Okay. Absolutely. Now we're getting ready to take a commercial break. While we take the commercial break, I want you all to think. Um, I want you all to think about maybe ways that we could come together, or maybe ways we could hold pastors accountable without stripping them of everything. Maybe giving them a plan for restoration after the behavior has been corrected. Maybe we can discuss that a little bit after we get back. Go ahead and take us away to commercial break, Kwame. I just want to say I was in that commercial. Did you see yourself, Manal?
I did.
I was
I
in that
did.
commercial. I'm going to tell my mom. I'm in a commercial now. Yeah.
It makes me remember how far I've come so far. So we're gonna keep going because I
Yeah.
need to be swinging by this time next year, and it needs to
Okay.
be
That'll
absolutely.
work. I'm swinging. You
Yeah.
just can't tell with this thing on my hand. Anyway. So before we went to commercial, I asked a question: what would be a way to hold a pastor accountable, but still leave room for them to be restored after the behavior has been corrected?
After the love is gone.
All right, now, no
Okay.
stop.
So Walter, I think this is where I need you to support me because I'm
Okay.
in a space. My
Okay.
thing is,
Okay.
I'm not looking for restoration with any of them.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like if it quacks, it's a damn duck. So let's just let the duck be a duck and go find another pond to play in, right?
Okay.
Restoration to me is this created, um, it's this illusion. It's an illusion
Okay.
because the only thing that you can restore in any situation after this is the fact that you now know reality and you have
Mm-hmm.
to restore reality to now your life, right? And what are you going
Okay.
to do about that?
Mm-hmm.
Because people are going to be who they are. And I think that the issue is that we put these individuals on a pedestal and they want to be there and we feel like
Okay.
we need somebody there, right?
Absolutely.
And so then they
Mm-hmm.
have this fall. Now we have this created idea of restoration. Well, what am I restoring you to? That pedestal? Like, why?
So this is maybe restoration is the wrong word, but I definitely think that accountability is okay. You need to step down from pouring into others for a moment, and you need to patch up your pot so that when you're poured into, everything isn't leaving. But when you are back in the space of pouring into others, you're now pouring from an integral pot. Your pot is now been repaired. And the repair can be now you're truthfully being honest about who you are. I honestly, right hand to God, I wouldn't do it. I would not do it. I repeat, I would not do it. I think I would make a better pastor now because I'm not hiding anything. Now my mouth is too filthy. I honestly feel like if I really started feeling the spirit and preaching, a cuss word just might slip. I honestly feel like if the praise leader started singing real good, a sing bitch might slip out my mouth in church. Um, but I feel like from a space of honesty, I'm now able to pour into people um, from a place of honesty. I'm not holding back. I'm not embarrassed. I'm not worried about somebody coming and exposing something. Now, granted, the thing I needed to be honest about was my attraction. I wasn't actually out here cheating on my wife with men and carrying on. So there may be something different for the person who is cheating. Maybe they need to deal with the fact that their honest place may be they're not built for monogamy. Okay, so then your truth needs to now be I am a minister, I am a pastor who is being honest with the person I'm with. Not that I'm cheating on them, but the person I'm with and I now have an agreement that either have an open relationship or that we are polyamorous. However, you choose to define your relationship. I think before you stand to pour into a person, I think you need to be pouring from an honest space. And I will say this, I support the idea of restoration because it says all is not lost when you make a mistake, or all is not lost if your sins find you out. Because sometimes I have seen personally I've seen it personally where God would use that to really cause the person to have a come to Jesus moment for themselves. Like, all right, now that you've broken all that facade, now can we really get out here and really help some people instead of perpetuating the lie?
So here's my thing.
Uh-huh.
Um, if you are to live your truth at that level, you
Uh-huh.
probably wouldn't be in church, and you definitely wouldn't be the leader of a church.
Okay.
One, nobody's
Okay.
gonna follow you being that real and authentic and that open. They're not gonna follow you because that's not the church mind, right?
Mm-hmm.
The way we are conditioned as quote unquote believers is not
Mm-hmm.
to be that open, not to be that real and authentic,
Okay.
and definitely not to live life in those ways, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because
Mm-hmm.
what we're taught is you need to be delivered. What we're taught is
Mm-hmm.
you need to come out of that demonic spirit, right? So if I
Mm-hmm.
want to live life openly and I am a swinger and me and my partner want to swing and I still want to lead a church, well, you're going to lead a church of swingers because that's all you're going to get at your
Okay.
minimum, right? So
Mm-hmm.
so we have to think about what church even is
Okay.
as it stands right now. Now, if we're changing church, if people are ready for that, go for it. It's time to have more gay churches. It's time to have more churches where we're actually discussing alcoholism and substance misuse,
Right.
right? Because if I'm a
Right.
minister and I say, you know what, I like crack and I ain't trying to give it up, that's my truth. Like you're gonna lose your members
Mm-hmm.
because they're gonna be trying to hold their purse, and like it's gonna be different. And so
Mm-hmm.
like how church is and what it is about, you can't be that real, that raw, that open and be a leader. It's not gonna happen, not in today's church. um
Okay.
and when we talk about restoring, again, my cup, just me, my cup
Mm-hmm.
is not for you to pour into. My cup is for me to pour into. And
Okay.
so, because I have that understanding, I'm not looking for anyone to be restored to pour on anyone other than themselves. And it
Okay.
is what you cultivate, you then can radiate and then receive. It has to be in that way. So if you
Mm-hmm.
are ready to be truthful and honest and to be authentic in the way that you live, and that's what you are radiating, then spirit is going to send people to you if that's where you're supposed to be positioned. You're not going to have to fight for that. So I don't need to come up with a restoration plan. You need to find yourself.
Okay. Well, okay, there it is. There it is. Um, I I still believe in the restoration, the idea of restoration. Maybe I'm gonna have to look up and think and maybe meditate on a new word. Because like you said, we don't want to restore the lie. So I definitely get what you're saying there. But I definitely feel like um we that I definitely feel like leaders stand to pour into those whom are around them. That's how I feel about that.
But see,
Now
that's
there was. Mhm,
stuff. Like,
mhm.
okay, let's talk about Jesus because people love Jesus.
Hi,
Um,
yellow shaka. Yeah.
hey, just the sound of his name, right?
Mm.
So the thing, the thing of it is, when we
Hmm.
say leaders, and I love this. I was listening to I used to watch State of the Black Union. I was a real deep youth. Okay,
Hmm.
so State of the Black Union, and there's this lady named Julie
Hmm.
Hare. She was dope, activist, community activist, and she said something about leadership that stuck with me. She
Okay.
said, if you are a leader, you're a leader because the people say you're a leader. You're not a leader
Hmm.
because you say you're a leader. So
Okay.
again, what you cultivate, you irradiate and you will then attract. I don't need to say I need to be ordained and lead a church. You're going to just be like Jesus was, and people are going to pick up on your vibrations, right?
Okay.
Isn't that what happens to you in the real world now?
Yeah. This is what happens. Yeah.
And so I don't have to be set up in a building and say, everybody come to me because I am a leader. Follow Manaz. I follow Christ. Yeah, I ain't gotta do all of that. I just get to be. And people come to
Okay.
me at the bus stop, people come to me at my job. I'm at the football games and people see me walking. They're like, what you got going on? You got this energy. What's happening?
Hmm.
Right? So again, what are we restoring people to? And it's this idea of
Hmm.
church, which isn't what it's supposed to be.
Okay. So even with that, I still in my being, in my attracting, I'm liable to make a mistake.
For
I am
sure.
liable, to move less authentic than I am at the moment, right now. But I still feel like on some level, I can be restored to where I am and then continue my journey forward. Maybe again, maybe my verbiage of restoration, maybe
Because it's not restoration. It's actual healing, right? It's actual
maybe that'll
growth.
be
It's evolution. Because I
maybe
don't
that is a better word.
I don't want to go back. I
Okay.
don't want to go back. What am I going back to? But I do want to evolve. I do want to grow. I want to be more aligned, right? I want to be
Okay.
more whole.
But I think restoration, so some things you do need to go back to, but you'll be going back with a better mindset. You'll be going back with the knowledge that you gained during the fall. And please get what I'm saying when I say the restoration process, the healing process. There we go.
Mm-hmm.
You gain knowledge from the fall and the healing process. So now when you get back to that seat or you get back to that position, you're now able to navigate in a more evolved, a more better, or some would say a more perfect way, you know, being
Church.
that you
Everything
being
you
that
said,
you
I'm like, this is a
being that
sermon.
you
So here's the thing.
okay,
What am I falling from? Your perspective of me, your idea of me, the image that I projected to you. That's all I'm falling from because I have been this person. My dark and my light have always existed.
okay.
Right? So I'm not falling from anything other than your idea of me. So
So
there's no need to be restored. In it, there's like real life, I'm not being restored to anything other than your image of me.
in real life, I'm on a journey, I'm on a path.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I deviate.
Sure. But you're
Okay.
not deviating from anything other than, again, my perspective of you. Because your
No.
light and your dark exist. They're not going
So
anywhere.
I get what you're saying, but it's not that's not what I'm saying. Sometimes it's my path. It's what I see. It's where I'm headed. It's the direction I'm going into. But I, Walter, deviate from where I'm headed. And
Mm-hmm.
sometimes I just have to readjust myself. It's called what I think it's called is it mission drift? When you lose well, you start out with your vision, your mission,
Uh-huh.
and then you slowly get off track. And then you have to find yourself putting yourself back. No, this is the goal, this is the mission. Or are you saying when you deviate, this is now the new mission and this is where there needs to be no putting it back and going back to the original?
Well, again, so it's the idea of restoration. What
Uh-huh.
what what are we being restored to? Why is restoration
Mm-hmm.
necessary? And
Mm-hmm.
at the end of the day, what does that whole idea or who does that whole idea even serve? So
Okay.
when we're talking about church, that's a thing, right? I'm
Mm-hmm.
seeking forgiveness for sucking boys' dicks, even though they're not my wife. I am so sorry. I have repented. My wife has
Uh-huh.
forgiven me. She's standing by my side, even though I just told her to roll over and I was only able to, I can say fuck, we 43 minutes in. I was only
Yeah,
able
yeah,
to
yeah.
fuck her from the back last night. She's
uh-huh.
standing here with me and I am restored.
Uh-huh.
Please come back to my church. You know, like what are we doing? Your
Okay.
person is your person.
Okay.
And so
All
that
right.
restoration, that whole idea is really just for everybody else to
Okay.
buy into the image,
So
right? So what I'm
what would healing in that situation that you just named, what would healing look like?
healing would look like, y'all, I'm gay than a mother trucker, and I ain't even trying to be with my wife. We have filed for divorce.
Okay.
And we are ending this relationship because I have hurt this person. I have completely crushed this person.
Mm-hmm.
And I have misused this whole vessel. I've
This whole
misused this
person,
person.
right.
And I have led y'all in a direction that I should not have led y'all in. Because
Mm-hmm.
also in the movie, it shows him talking about how homosexuality is a sin.
Right,
So
right.
I
Mm-hmm.
have actually created this entire world for y'all to
Mm-hmm.
buy into that's not even real. So I
Right.
can completely understand if you don't want to hear another word that comes out of my mouth.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm going to work on me. And I pray that y'all work on yourselves. Because that's probably the best thing.
And then just disband the church?
Absolutely.
What about the property? Sell it?
Sell it. Turn it into a community center. Actually, like maybe go pay for some people to go to school for counseling because all y'all going to need therapy in that motherfucker. Make it useful.
Oh, Jesus. I love you, Manal. I love you. Okay. So we definitely have two different perspectives on that. Now I'm with you. I'm with you on that healing. The healing, I'm with you all day on the healing. Tell the truth. And then I love what you said. Well, you didn't say it, but you were showing him in your example, him taking ownership of what he did to her. Right? Doesn't I loved it because it didn't mention anything that she might have done in retaliation during the interaction, but you're taking ownership that you are where you are because you couldn't be man enough to take, the responsibility or to take the ownership of what was actually going on in yourself. It's a hard thing to go through. It is a hard thing to go. Accepting your truth is a hard thing to go through. And I absolutely agree with that. I have to double down on this. I Now, let me see where I want to double down. Hold on. Because the idea of church today, so sometimes I miss that atmosphere. Sometimes I miss it. I've also come to terms that just because you miss a thing doesn't mean it was healthy for you and that it was good. Sometimes you're just used to that trauma bond, that bonding that goes on. I wish there was a way after something like this happened for him to now exist in his truth, and we can turn this body of people now into a community based, maybe for healing, or a community based for even spiritual growth, of some sort.
But see, that's the difference between religion and spiritual.
Okay.
Religion says that there needs to be a focal point. Someone has to be the focal point. Someone has to be the leader. That's what religion says.
Okay.
Spirituality says that you are your own guide and you need to tap into yourself. You are your own leader. And that's why spirituality is very is watered down in the church, because everything points you to everything outside of yourself, which makes you open, right? That makes you the sheep. If shoot, what's that? What's the movie with Samuel L. Jackson and uh, man,
12 Years a Slave?
No, Samuel Jackson.
Pulp Fiction?
Pulp Fiction, yes. That whole monologue that he goes through about the sheep.
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember?
I've never watched that movie from beginning to end.
Watch the movie, but pay attention to that monologue that he always quotes before they kill somebody, before they go, and it's that idea that you are so empty-headed, and it is by design, just so people can come for you when they want to, right? And that is the space that religion puts you in, because it points you to everything outside of yourself, so then you're not really armed to defend yourself, right? So like what really needs to happen in that situation is not be restored back to leadership where now everybody is coming to you, but you learn the importance of being whole within yourself. And so turning into more of a spiritual space would mean that no one is the leader.
So, is this the birth of what you were talking about? Spiritual bypass.
So the spiritual bypass
Mm-hmm.
is it's really a danger zone. It's
Okay.
when it's when people sidestep reality by by sprinkling religion on it, right?
Okay.
So what that looks like is um your husband only wants to bend you over and never look you in the eyes while having sex with you, and he's having sex with other men, but you say the Lord is working on him though.
Right. 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 Bypass.
No, you should probably leave that motherfucker because he's gay.
Period. Yeah. Now that I agree with.
It's
No.
that it's that reality that that woman in the church is molesting little girls in the playroom, you
Mm.
know, and instead of dealing with that situation,
Mm-hmm.
it's more of the, we're gonna pray for her and her spirit.
Okay.
No, she need to go to jail, period.
Absolutely. Now that I agree with.
And
Yes.
all of them girls
Absolutely.
need counseling, not go sit with the first lady who giving them candy and telling them it's gonna be all right because the Lord sees everything. No,
Mm-hmm.
send her to jail
Okay.
and acknowledge what.
Absolutely. Would a form of spiritual bypass be again the five members in the movie Honk for Jesus that
Mhm.
stayed and ignored the reality of what's going on? Would that be a form of spiritual bypass?
Absolutely. And even in their
Mm-hmm.
speech, they said, well, this is the only place where my child, is comfortable. So we just gonna keep coming here. This is where God has us.
Mm-hmm.
No, the reality is you scared to start over. You scared to leave.
Right.
That's what you know.
Right. Right. One thing I found out about church is you become the top dog at one church, you go to another church, it's almost like school. In the fifth grade, you big dog on campus. Sixth grade,
You're
you're
not the
now
little
the
peon.
little right, right. Eighth grade, you're the big dog on campus. Ninth grade, you are now a freshman, right? Bow down, right? And in church, in a lot of ways, because of respectability politics and because of stratification, it does mirror that in a lot of ways. If you're not coming in with a position, you're starting from ground level and you now have to prove yourself and work your way up. They don't trust your discernment. They don't trust your teaching. You don't know the Bible. They don't know what they teach at their church down there. But we know what we teach up in here, right? And I've heard it,
Yeah, no, for real.
countless times. And so a lot of times, like you say, because we're comfortable where we are, we will bypass even the things that God will reveal to us or spirit will reveal to us, will bypass that. Our own common sense will bypass that um, for the sake of comfortability. For the sake
Absolutely.
of comfortability. I could remember, now that we're talking about this, when I was over church culture, okay?
Hmm.
I was over church culture. The Lord would reveal certain things to me. And because I was making a lot of the money I was making to sustain my life at the time, I was making a lot of my money in church culture. I would ignore what I knew to be the truth and just go and get my money and dip. And I would justify it to myself, well, I'm only here, for this. And if anybody comes to me, I'm going to tell them the truth. But in certain atmospheres and in certain things, like I could remember, especially after, for those of you that are watching, I am gay. You know, when I would be in certain services and certain messages would be preached, well, now I'm a grown ass man, and sometimes I would be 2 minutes away from tears. So my heart would be hurt for the 16, 17-year-old who might not be as strong as I am. Like, I'm not going to leave and kill myself. I'm going to leave and do whatever I need to do to get myself
Yeah.
together. And early on, when I first accepted myself, I would really have doubts where after I would hear a lot of that, I would leave church, and for a week or two, I would really feel like, oh my God, if I die tonight, hell is going to be my eternal resting place. All because now I done prayed. Now you talk about praying and fasting. I used to pray and fast that, if it could be prayed away, damn it, I would have did it. Uh, all because I could not shake this thing that I have come to learn. It's just a part of my build-up. It's a part of my makeup. When I'm real and honest with myself, when I think back to even when I was a child, not a small child, I remember having affinity toward, is that the right word? Affinity? Having crushes on little boys. And I
That was the right word.
remember that was the right word. You said it wasn't? Oh,
Mm-hmm.
I remember feeling certain kind of ways when certain things would happen. Certain men would say things a certain way. But anyway, we may have to revisit this topic again because we're coming to the close. Manal, real briefly, can you give us about 30 seconds of something you would tell someone who has found themselves in a honk for Jesus position? You have
as
the
a
floor.
first lady or as a member?
As a member, first lady, let's for tonight, let's go for the member.
If you are a member, I would say run. And don't run to another church, because that was one of the things is the young ministers that were coming up that were what do you call it? They were ordained under the church, where the minister was, of course, sleeping with the boys. Ministers groom other ministers, and they groom them with all of the bullshit, right? And so going to another church is not what's going to necessarily help your life. Learning who you are, learning what it is that you want, learning what it is that you need out of life, and how to get those things. That's what's going to help you move forward, not another church. And then even if that is something that you feel needs to be a part of your life, I wouldn't move quickly.
Okay.
Get to know God outside of the church experience.
Okay. I have to say that definitely helped me. Thank you for tuning in tonight. And now, how can the people find you on social media?
Oh my gosh, you can find me under Bay Windows on YouTube. You can find me under Manal_Smiles on Instagram, and Manal Bay on Facebook.
Okay. And if any of the things that she said were not correct, you saw them at the bottom of the screen. Your Instagram is proud_Manal Smiles, right?
Thanks.
See, got you. All right. And you can follow me on all social media platforms, Walt B Connection. Thank you so much for tuning in tonight. You can catch us here next week on the Walt B Connection. Go ahead and take us away, Kwame.